Well, the vice president is now the latest from Team Obama to call the president the underdog heading into 2012.
The American people are dissatisfied for the state of the nation at the moment. That all by itself is enough to make you the underdog.
Is it strong enough of a Republican Party for its nominee to beat this president?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's strong enough to beat both of us.
MSNBC political analyst Michelle Bernard is president of the Bernard Center for Women, Politics and Public Policy. Shira Toeplitz covers politics for Roll Call, and Faz Shakir is editor-in-chief of thinkprogress.org and vice president of the Center for American Progress. Welcome, all of you. Faz, let me start with you. What do you think of Joe Biden's very blunt assessment of 2012?
Well, I mean, it's clear that President Obama is struggling right now, but I think as the contest heats up and you've got a Republican contender to pit himself off against, he's going to benefit from that. But I think that it's more important for him to focus on his jobs plan. I think that's the message that the American people want to hear about. And I think the impetus for the jobs plan is now renewed with the new jobs numbers, because I think it shows that if we're going to turn around some of our struggling economic sectors, particularly the government employees, teachers, firemen, police officers, those are the people who actually stand to benefit a great deal from the jobs plan. I think it shows that we need to move on it.
Sheriff, there was one striking thing about the week when it comes to Obama-Biden is how they both so easily now are saying, yeah, you know what, this is not going to be easy. But Biden also said something else. He said, you know what, it's going to be a choice. Well, that's also code for it. This is going to be a knockdown, drag-out election, because you know why we're calling it a choice? Because we're going to make the other choice seem pretty unelectable.
You know, and I think his words were also another way of saying, give me your money. This is a really good way to fundraise among the base, saying, oh, wait, ring the warning bell. Yeah. I think we might lose this one. So this is a really good way for President Obama and Joe Biden to rather subtly say, okay, guys, we need some cash. Let's start bringing it in.
Now, Michelle, John Boehner has tried to say everything the president's doing is campaign mode when it comes to this jobs bill. Here was how he put it yesterday.
I made it clear to my colleagues, when I don't have 218 frogs in the wheelbarrow at one time, I don't have the strongest hand that I could have. They want more change. They want it faster. And I don't disagree with them. I try to get as much as I can, but I want to be able to move the ball down the field on behalf of the American people.
Well, that was him talking about his House caucus, but it was another quote that I wanted to highlight when he was saying, well, the president is just simply in campaign mode. Well, there's an argument to be made here, because he's got a campaign in order to get people in order to see if he can get Congress to get political motivation to get this jobs bill done.
You know, whether he's in campaign, let's assume he's not in campaign mode. What the president's message is an important message. It is a message that the American public needs to hear. So from my perspective, he's in campaign mode, but he's also governing. The difference is we're seeing a very different candidate Obama and a governing President Obama than we saw in 2008, and even different than what we saw just a few months ago. He's stronger. The tone and tenor of his rhetoric is much stronger, and I think that that is something the American public needs to see and feel in order to have confidence. I, for example, don't feel that it engenders a lot of confidence to have the president and the vice president say, although I'm the president of the United States, I'm the underdog. I don't know that the public...
You think that's bad to say?
I think it's bad to say. I think that the public needs to feel that this is a man who is in charge. He knows what he's doing. He understands that the pain that the 14 million unemployed Americans today are feeling, and that he knows how difficult it is, but he's in charge, and he's going to find a way to turn things around.
You know, Faz, it seems to me there's a fine line between, you know, not looking like your head's in the sand, right? You want to look, you know, you want to look like you're at least talking straight to the people, that you don't look like you're living in some la-la land. At the same time, you also don't want to give off a sense of doom and gloom.
Well, do you remember the unnamed Republican aide who talked to Politico just a few weeks ago and said, Obama's on the ropes, why do we want to give him a victory? I think that summarizes the political state of play. If you've got a Republican Party who's made a political calculation that we aren't going to hand Obama a victory, they're playing politics. So I mean, I appreciate John Boehner saying, oh, well, President Obama's campaign. What else do you expect him to do? If that's your strategy, Obama's got to campaign for his jobs plan. He's got to draw a contrast, and he's got to say you're wrong and I'm right.
Sure, you spent a lot of time on Capitol Hill covering it. Do you get the sense that there is any nervousness, go one step below the leadership levels of the Republicans in the Senate and the House, nervousness that they could get more blame for this, for the gridlock in Washington than it appears today?
Absolutely. I think that rank and file of House Democrats in particular they're very nervous right now. Look, there's 16 blocks right between the White House and Capitol Hill. It might as well be miles right now. There's just a lot of distance between those two camps. And
you mean House Republicans?
House Republicans.
Okay.
Sorry. And I think there's a lot of concern in that regard.
All right. I want to move to a lighter topic. We knew the Massachusetts Senate race was going to be a fairly interesting affair between potentially Elizabeth Warren, who has to get through a primary, and Scott Brown. But there was a back and forth about the idea of Scott Brown having to pose nude to pay for college, Elizabeth Warren's response, and then Scott Brown's response to the response. Take a listen.
To help pay for his law school education, Scott Brown posed for Cosmo. How did you pay for your college education?
I kept my clothes on.
Have you officially responded to Elizabeth Warren's comment about how she didn't take her clothes off?
Thank God.
Michelle Bernard is a fine line between being jocularity. He obviously was on a radio show, a little looser atmosphere, but then also sounding sexist.
He sounded sexist, but I take both comments with a grain of salt. I know that there are a lot of women's groups that are outraged by the comments that he made, but I think both of them were laugh lines for Elizabeth Warren and for Scott Brown. And quite frankly, his personal story is one that is very captivating for anyone who's listened to him, who's read the book, who's read his life story. I think you just kind of take it with a grain of salt and let bygones be bygones.
Sure, what struck me about it, though, is you do get the sense you're like, maybe Elizabeth Warren's gotten under Scott Brown's skin a little bit. He's certainly thinking about her when he thinks, all right, this re-election isn't going to be easy.
Yeah, I think if Scott Brown's watching the poll numbers, and he's a smart politician, so he is, he knows that she's gained on him in the last couple weeks. Look, I don't think this will be a huge deal in a Senate contest, and I think she'll probably win the Democratic nomination, so 12 months from now, I don't think it'll be a big deal. But I think it underscores a lot of things in this race right now.
Faz, describe the excitement that there is in the liberal community when it comes to Elizabeth Warren.
Well, a champion against fighting against Wall Street. Look at the Occupy Wall Street protest. She is the champion of that movement. She was there before the Occupy Wall Street movement, and I think she's probably the biggest icon who stands for what they stand for.
And there could be a lot, I hear, that the fundraising report that may come with her will show what kind of sort of national following Elizabeth Warren has. All right, you guys stick around. I got Gene Sperling coming up. Up next,